And tell us more about the latest cultural exchange between the two Koreas, as well as the postponed working-level talks on the April 27th summit. Dr. Jang Yaba, a research fellow at the Sejong Institute, joins us in the studio today. So good to see you.
Thank you for having me today.
Okay, so like we saw in the report, South Korean musicians returned home on Wednesday after their concerts on Sunday and Tuesday evening. Now, tell us more about them, and also what impact might such cultural exchanges between the two Koreas may have on future inter-Korean relations?
It was actually a very good and promising sign that two Koreas have agreed to host this kind of show in North Korea because this kind of show has not been held in a decade. When we had rather good relations with North Korea, this kind of cultural exchange was possible. But after North Korea's rapid development of nuclear and missile technology, this kind of cultural exchange was not possible. But this time, it was very surprising that Kim Jong-un himself attended the show and took a picture with a Korean artist.
Right.
And even North Korean newspaper put those pictures on their first page. So I think that Kim Jong-un tries to show to the world that his approach to this kind of cultural exchange is different from his predecessors, like his father and his grandfather. So maybe they still have some kind of worries about cultural penetration into the North Korean people, but North Korean government tried to show to the world that they are trying to accept as fast as possible of these kind of South Korea's cultures into North Korea because they want to improve their image before the North and South summit and also the possible summit with the United States.
And it seemed that North Korea lifted a lot of the restrictions that it had before in regards to filming and stuff, too.
Yes, it was reported that before, when South Korean performers went to Pyongyang and North Korea to do this kind of musical performance, they intervened to check what kind of song that South Korean artists are going to play, or is there any problems in the lyrics of the Korean songs, because they think that this is too much like capitalistic. Okay. So because they still have like socialist ideology. So, but it was reported that this time they really didn't interfere with the Korean authorities to pick up songs and what kind of music that they are going to play. So it was some development there.
All right. Well, let's turn our eyes to the working level talks, which were supposed to be held today, but has been postponed by North Korea's request to tomorrow. Now, although the Unification Ministry said yesterday that Pyongyang gave no apparent reasons for this delay, but what could be some of the reasons for North Korea's postponing this event?
Actually, this time the working level meeting was for the protocols and like secret services and also the media arrangement. So South Korean delegation for the working level meeting this time is from the presidential office, who's dealing with these three issues: protocols, secret services, and the media arrangement. So I'm not sure whether North Korea is really ready to send delegations who really have done this, because North Korean system is quite different from ours.
Right.
So whether they have same equivalent department of doing this protocol and secret services and the media arrangement. So I think that might be the reason that North Korea want one more day to do this. And our Ministry of Unification did not say, Minister of Unification said that this was not a bad sign of canceling the meeting at all, because we are going to have another meeting on 7th about the communication related issues. So I think it's just a one day postponement, not canceling.
All right, but then, I mean, will this delay really not affect the summit itself? And also, I have questions over whether this could perhaps happen for the upcoming high-level talks, as well as even the summit itself.
That in the past, there are many occasions that we observed like sudden cancellation by North Korea on this kind of meetings. So probably we will see some occasions that North Korea canceled the meeting a couple days ago or a couple hours ago. But this time, it is apparent that North Korea needs to have a talk with South Korea because they are under really hard pressure from the international sanctions, and that is why they came first to have a dialogue with the South Korean government. So I really don't think that unless they think that denuclearization is not an option for them, but as long as they are interested in denuclearization talk with the international community, I don't really think that they are going to cancel meetings or high-level. Maybe there can be some adjustment of schedules, because North Korean system is quite different from us. But I really don't think that they are going to cancel the meetings, which will affect the North and South Summit in April 27th. So we will see these kind of things a lot of times in the future, but I don't think it's that worrisome.
Okay, so I mean, they have too much on stake for them to cancel this, right?
Right.
Well, now, like you said, the two Koreas are also expected to discuss ways to set up the communications hotline when they meet for talks on Saturday as well. Tell us more about this.
So when South Korean Special Envoy visited Pyongyang in early March, that they agreed to have this hotline between the leaders of two Koreas. And they also said that two leaders are going to have a talk over this phone hotline before the summit. But there are issues with so-called working level issues in establishing these hotlines, because there are technical issues as well as a lot of discussions on the military issues, because this kind of hotline is not just a civil use, but it has to involve with military technology to be all those secret issues. That is why on April 7th, they are going to meet to discuss about this establishing communication over hotline between two leaders. So I think that we will observe a lot of cases with these working level meetings to discuss these technical matters, not for strategic politically. Those issues are going to be dealt by the high-level meetings. And so issues of the agendas on the summit will be discussed at the high-level meetings. But we should have a lot of meetings with North Koreans at the working level to talk with the technical issues. And yeah, there are a lot of things that we have to talk, like media, protocols, secret services, communications, and even the transportation, because it is believed that Kim Jong-un is going to come close the MDL when there's on the day of summit. So there's going to be military talks because it has to be involved with the military because it's a military guarded area. So we will have a lot of working level meetings from various departments of the government and government agencies.
All right. Well, you mentioned a lot of it, but of course that there are a lot of firsts to this inter-Korean summit with Kim Jong-un being one of the first North Korean leaders to be setting his foot on South Korean soil and all. So what else is left on the calendar then between now and the summit itself on April 27th? So
as we discussed that there are going to be working level meetings, of course, and also there are going to be high level meetings to set up the agendas for the meetings, because there has been concerns about whether the denuclearization can be seriously discussed at the leaders level on April 27th. Because North Korea has not directly contacted the United States yet about their interest in denuclearizing North Korea. So unless there's an improvement between North Korea and the United States, it's quite difficult for South Korean government to achieve successful summit with the North Korea. So I think that we will have a couple more high-level meetings before the summit, and also from the international arena that Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is going to visit United States on April 17th until the 20th to discuss about the North Korean issues. And also Prime Minister Abe invited President Moon Jae-in to Japan before the April 27th summit to discuss the North Korean denuclearization issues. So we have less than like 3 weeks,
right.
and we are going to see a lot of international events and inter-Korean events, and also the working level meetings. So it's full pack of news until then.
And now, meanwhile, North Korean Foreign Minister Lee Yong-ho held talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on Tuesday as a follow-up discussion after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met with Chinese President Xi Jinping just last week. So what came out of that meeting?
It was actually the Lee Yong-ho's travel to Azerbaijan for the non-allied movement conference there. During the Cold War period, many countries do not join the Western or Soviet blocs, and North Korea is one of the countries joined that community. So while Lee Yong-ho is going to attend the meeting at Azerbaijan, he stopped by at China and have a meeting with Wang Yi. And I think the reason behind that is to show to the United States and South Korea that North Korea has reestablished its relations with China, so they can go together against United States for the possible summit, because many believe that North Korea is coming out for the discussion with the United States is by the pressure by United States and the international community. So North Korea needs some kind of friend, good friend, to best support them. So that is why North Korea is trying to reestablish its relations with the long-time ally China. So that is why, even though it's a very short visit by Lee Yong-ho, of this time, but I think it's one way to show to the world that North Korea and China is reestablishing its relations.
And kind of going along with that, Lee Yong-ho is expected to head over to Russia as well. So there are questions as to whether North Korea may be trying to strengthen this trilateral alliance between China, Russia, and North Korea.
Yes, it is very important for North Korea to have strategically re-established its relations with China and Russia, because they are the most important two countries which support North Korea. And also from the economic perspective, that China and Russia is the main economic supplier for North Korea. So while those two countries are still cooperating with the United Nations sanction regime against North Korea, but North Korea is trying to find a way that whether there is a possible way for North Koreans to evade and working a way that China and Russia can help North Korea to evade sanctions, to improve economic conditions of North Korea. It is because it is important for North Korea, because if North Korea is pressed so hard, their negotiating position is going to be so weak. That means that North Korea has to accept many requests by the United States when they are really negotiating the denuclearization issues. So I think that is why North Korea is trying to rebuild its relations with China and Russia, which can be its good friend when North Korea has to negotiate with the United States. So probably we will see more news of this kind in the near future, before April 27th summit and the possible summit with the United States.
And it seems like North Korea is trying to reach out to Europe as well, which is putting a lot of sanctions and pressure on North Korea itself. So some say that North Korea's Director for European Affairs, Kim Sung-kyung, is preparing to meet with senior European Union officials as early as this week. So I guess they're trying really hard to boost their image internationally.
Yes, I think it's not just only about their image, but there are also practical reasons that why North Korea is trying to rebuild their diplomatic relations with many countries. And as you just mentioned, that EU is one of the countries that put unilateral sanctions on North Korea. So besides UN sanctions, EU put another unilateral sanctions on North Korea. So maybe this time, the visit this time by North Korean government officials to EU is trying to find a way that whether they can lift some kind of sanctions when they sat with the United States and international community on the denuclearization, because they have to know that what they can get if they come to the negotiating table with the international community. So because for the negotiating tactics that North Korea has to know what they can get from it.
Right.
So they are trying to test the water in many countries this time.
All right, so there are differing views on how this denuclearization process will go from here on out. So, I mean, in the past, how have the two Koreas dealt with the nuclear issue involving North Korea?
The most important one in the past was 1992, the joint declaration of denuclearization of Korean Peninsula between two Koreas. And at that time, it was ironically that South Korea has tactical nuclear weapons introduced by the USFK, and North Korea was not believed to have any nuclear weapons. So, like China and Russia had some nuclear weapons. It was believed that China and Russia had some nuclear weapons in the past in North Korean territory, but it was removed. And after 1992 joint declaration that also the tactical nuclear weapons on South Korean territory was removed.
Okay.
But the problem is that after couple agreement and the negotiation between North Korea and the international community, that North Korea did its first nuclear test in 2006. So we had 1994 Geneva Agreement and 2005 September 19 agreement, and also 2007 February 13 agreement to implement September 19 agreement between North Korea and with the six-party countries. So we had some history of past agreement, but all the time, the problem was that it was not implemented successfully.
Right.
So the most important question this time for the South Korean and North Korean summit is whether we are going to have some kind of measures to secure the implementation process rather than agreement, because we already have some kind of template for the agreement, but we don't know whether we can successfully implement it. So more question is about whether North Korea is going to accept the US and South Korea's like coercive way of putting them on the like implementation.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you.